Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Max, and I'm here for your entertainment and bring some value to poker from my perspective. So first of all, I would like to thank everyone for the comments and love. And if I do bring some value to you, don't forget to put a thumbs up. It helps me a lot and helps the algorithm from YouTube to reach more people out there. So anyway, I'm playing for this session. I'm playing 1-2 game, and let's roll. So for the first hand of the night, I have Ace Jack of clubs in the hijack position. The low jack put a bet of $12, so I have a good hand to re-raise him, so I put a bet of 35. The bottom calls and the first better calls as well. The flop is Queen 10 deuce with 2 spades. Now the first player checks, and I have a decision to make. I have a decent card, so I decided to put a c-bet at $30, 1/3 of the pot. Now the bottom fold, and the initial bettor decided to go all in for $140. Now the pot is at $280, and I need to put 110 to win 280 plus the amount I'm putting inside. So that's around like 40%. Since I do not really run it because I have either like it's a king, I'm winning with a king to have a straight, and he might do that with only like a flush draw. So I'm putting him on a flush draw for sure. But without having any pair, I think it's an easily fold because I don't have the odds with the pot size. So I fold. So for my second hand, I have 9-6 suited in the low jack position. Now the first mistake I made is that I have limped here. I limp because there's so many limpers, and I tried to limp, and I've become the table. I've become like everyone else. And that's a mistake because if you have a hand that you want to limp, you shouldn't play a hand. You should always play a hand that you want to bet first, because a limp, it goes to disaster. Anyway, I limp, and there are 6 limpers, and let's see a flop, which is 9-9-7. Now, I know why people limps. It limps just for this kind of situation, to just like bunkers on the flop, and that's why everyone limps now. I understand. I've become like everyone. I've seen the light. I am the light. Anyway. Everyone decided to check, and I've decided to check that as well, because since I'm having a 9 in my hand, I wanted to trap people, and because what are the odds that another person has a 9 as well, and I want them to catch something. But while thinking about it, it might be a mistake because a lot of people limps, and if they limps, it might limps with a 10-8 or something else. So anyway, I think it's not that bad to check here because you want to trap people, but also you want to build up the pot as well. But I decided to check, to play it sneaky, and the turn was a jack, where the big blind leads here for $15, and the undergun +2 decided to call. So with a 9 in my hand, it's easy decision. I put a raise here. I raise here because I'm having a 9. People could have like a jack. I could represent what? Maybe I could represent like I'm trying to steal the pot. Might have represent that having value here. So, and I want to create a bigger pot. So I put a raise of $50. And everyone folds except the undergun +2 who makes the call. The river is an ace of club here. And now the undergun +2 decided to lead for $70 here. And now I'm going to think, what could he represent? Because I've shown a lot of strength, and he decided to call my strength on the turn. And now he decided to lead. So what can he represent? Could he represent a 9 as well, a straight, a full house? 9 ace and run 1 into trap everyone else like I did trap. I played my semi-trap, trap, everyone traps, trap, these kind of traps. So I don't think there's a reason here to re-raise him, because what worse can call you to make some value here? And only better hands will call you. So with that in mind, I just decided to call his $70, and the villain shows Jack 9. So I think I've lost the minimum here since he had a boat and I have 8 trips. So for my next hand, I'm having ace 4 suited in the bottom position. There's one limper. The low jack put a raise at $12. And here I just decided to make the call. There's a small blind who calls as well, and the other gun +1 call. The flop is 9, king, and 5, 2 diamonds. Now it all checks to me. Since I'm having the nut flush draw, I decided to lead here for $15. And only the small blind calls. The turn is a jack of spade, and the small blind decided to lead here. So I presume there's no reason here to raise, since he might want to like put value on 2 pair. He might have like a strong hand, because since he dunk bet me here, he probably had a strong hand. So there's no reason to me to raise here and just try to catch my card and the river, and just disguise also my cards, because there's no reason here to raise here. So it's an easy call here of $20. And the river is a queen of diamonds. Now I have the nut flush draw. It's a good thing. Now he checked. That shows a lot of weakness, because he probably have only 1 pair, 2 pair, and now he's scared of the flush draw since I'm having it to the highest possibility. So with all that in mind, I've decided to put a bit of the pot size to be polarized. It was either I have it or either I don't have it. And with all that in mind, he decided to fold. So for my next hand, I'm having pocket aces, like rockets, man. Yes, sir, my man. And there's a straddle, so it's bingo bango. So there's one limper. And so since I'm having pocket aces, I decided to put a bet of $30, raise it up, and only the straddler calls. The flop is 4 of spades, jack of spades, and 8 of club. Now, with my pocket aces, I decided to make the lead, continue my c-bet of $30 half pot, and the straddler raised to 75. Since I don't have the ace of spade here, he might raise with a flush draw as well, or he might have an ace jack, or could have a set. He could represent a lot of things here with him raising. So I just decided to make a call, not re-raise him, because there's no point of re-raise with my aces, and you don't want to overplay as well your aces. So I just decided to call, and the turn was a 2 of heart, which was technically a brick. It changed nothing. So I've just decided to check here and let him like put the pressure and put like, he wanted to play strength, so let's go play strength. But on my surprise, he checks. So I think he's like trying to having the flush draw here, because or else he would have like bet again with like pockets and all this stuff. So if he had a set, he would have still bet. If he had 2 pair, he would have still bet. He had jack aces, he would still bet, because he wouldn't need to catch like a something, or that's why he wanted to go to the river cheaply with only checking. So I think I'm putting him more on a flush draw. And the river was a queen of heart here, so there's no reason me here to bet, because if I'm putting him on a flush draw, I want him to induce the bluff, and I want him to lead, and so that's why I go for a checked. And he decided to bet 125, which was a kind of big bet here, around like half pot, 60%. So there's no reason me to check raise here, because he could, if he had a flush draw as I put him, he wouldn't call either. And if he played like a trap with jack 2, jack 4, with a set or 2 pair, then I'm done. So there's no reason of me of just re-raising him, and I decided to just make the call, and the villain shows pocket queens. So with that in mind, it was really unlucky from my part. It was a cooler situation because he hit his 5% on the river here. So I think I played it correctly here, but if you don't think so, let me know. So for my next hand, I'm having queens in the low jack position. There's a straddle on, there's one limper, so with pocket queens, I've decided to put a bet of $30. The hijack calls, the cutoff call, the small blind calls, the straddle calls, and the undergun +1 calls. So everyone calls apparently, and bets are nothing here. So let's see a flop with too many people, which was 9-8 rainbow here. Now it checks out to me, and I decided to put deep pressure on because there's too many people, and I think people try to limp here. So, and if the people had sets, well, I would know, and I don't want people to catch something else, like an ace here or something like that. So I decided to put a bet of $65, which was like 1/3 of the pot, and only the low hijack calls. Now the turn is a 4 of diamonds. Now here I wanted to play a little bit sneaky because I have queens, and he was the guy who re-raised me on the previous hand with pocket queens when I had aces. So if he had a strong hand, I thought he would have re-raised me here. So that's why I wanted him to induce the jam here, or let him bet so I could jam afterward. But thinking about it, I think I should have bet here because he might like run, or he might like he doesn't show a lot of strength here, because like I said, he would have re-raised me at a point if he had a lot of strength. So with that in mind, I wanted him to bet so I could jam, but thinking about it, I think I should protect my hand and put some value with a betting here. So I think I played bad, but that's what I thought during the hand. And it goes check, check. Now the river is an ace of hearts. So here there's no really a point of betting here, because if I bet, he would call with an ace, or he would fold with an air. And if I've check, he would either bet with nothing or bet with an ace. So I'm thinking in the hand is that there's a bigger possibility that he has nothing. So with that in mind, I try to check here so that he could induce a bet with all the probability that he might have air and like giving him some loose rope to hang himself. Sorry for that dark humor side. Anyway, so that's what I do. I check, and he put a bet of 75. From my point of view, there's no reason to re-raise him, because what worse can call you here, and if he had an ace, good job. If he doesn't, okay. So I only have pocket queens. It's a bluff catcher, so I make the call, and he shows 7-6 offsuit like I've thought he had. So for my next hand, I'm having queen jack suited in the hijack position. The straddle's on, as always, on that game that night. There's one limper, two limper, so I decided to raise it up at $20 because I have good cards. The cutoff call, the bottom call, the straddle calls, the first limper fold, and the second limper call. So a lot of people to see a flop again, which was a 10 of heart, jack of clubs, and a king of clubs. Now it goes check to me, and here what can I do? Since I'm having only a jack, but having like a open-ended straight draw with an ace or a 9, I still decided to check here because there's a lot of people who might have a king in their hand or might have an ace, so they're probably gonna call as well. And I think there's not a lot of betting here, so because it's so much of a wet board with so much people inside, and I have not a strong hand, but I have a decent hand because there could be people who's gonna flush draw here with the clubs. So yeah, with all that in mind, I decided to check, easy check, and the bottom put a bet of $25. Everyone folds except me, who makes the call, and the turn was an ace of diamonds. So I've hit the straight and I've dodged the flush. So that's a good card for me. But I want him to continue for the strength. So I decided to check and see what he's gonna do, and he checks back here. And the river was a brick f5. So it changed nothing at all. I touched the flush here. And so with all that in mind, I cannot just check here and think he might bet so I can re-raise him. I don't think it's a good play here. And that's what people in the 1-2 tends to do a lot. They miss value here because they think they're gonna bet and I could have re-raised him here. But I don't think it's a good play to just check because he checked back on the turn. So he's not showing a lot of strength. And he wanted to go to the showdown with the lead cheaply. So that's why I decided to put a bet of $50, and he quickly calls, and he shows King 10 of offsuit. So he had 2 pair, and I had a straight. So for my last hand, I have pocket 8s, also called snowmans. So there's one limper with pockets, mid pockets. I decided to put a bet of $12. The hijack calls, the big blind calls, and the first limper calls. And let's see a flop, which was a 4 of heart, a queen of spade, and a 6 of spades. Now it all goes checks, and I have a decision to make. I don't think here it's a good idea to bet because someone could have a queen, and since we're all multi-ways, people might tend to run the flush draw, straight draw, and all this stuff. So for my part, there's no reason to bet here. So I checked, and the turn was a 2 of heart. Now the big blind decided to lead for $20. Now here I think this big blind might like just bet for like a flush draw or straight draw or anything like that. So I don't think he had a lot of strength, and I think I had a bluff catcher with my 8s if depending on the river. So I decided to make a call, and the guy behind me make the call. I don't really think it might be a good idea of me calling as well here after that, thinking about it, because there was someone behind me as well. So that guy behind me could like re-raise. So with pocket 8s is mostly a 50-50, but yeah, he might have a 6 here. And he might also have a queen since he was the big blind, and he might think that someone could have bet on flop. So yeah, we thinking about it afterwards. I don't think 8s here might be a call, but yeah, I did the call anyway. And let's see the river, which was an 8 of heart. Yeah, I think that's the reason why I made the call, to just hit my set at the end. So that was a lucky lockbox from my part again. Anyway, he goes check here, and I've decided to put a small bet here because there's also the flush that got inside. There's the straight that could hit, and I just decided to put a low bet here. And the hijack decided to fall, and the big blind calls here. So I show my 8s, and he mucks. And while mucking, we can see in the video that he had 9-8. So my intuition at the turn while he was betting for stealing, he was actually stealing because he had nothing, and he felt that everyone had weakness. But then when I had my 8, he got his pair, so he might have called for like a bluff catcher, but with what kind of bluff catcher he would call. Well, anyway, so I'm kind of surprised, but I've just like saw that on my camera. He might not have known. So it's very important to analyze your hand, because without me seeing that, now I know that he is more of a bluffer guy or something like that. So it's very useful to actually study your hands and analyze that. I was lucky that my camera got it, but yeah, that's it. So thank you if you reach until this far of the video. So for today's session, I've won only $110 under 7 hours. It's not that much for these kinds of game because it's not even a buy-in. So even though I've won, it's always great to win. It's always a positive, so happy. I'm not ungrateful for that. I'm super grateful for that. But yeah, I could always win more, but it's not uncommon. You won't always win them, and it's part of the game. But I still won. I'm still in the positive, so it's not that big of a deal. Next session is gonna be better, and I'm always trying to improve. So anyway, if you stayed this long, I appreciate it. And if I brought you value, don't forget to put a thumbs up. It helps me a lot, and subscribe. Anyway, see you on the next video.